Can you guys guess where the hardest place to do a degree in the world is? Spoiler alert.
China. Yes, and I am doing a PhD in mathematics right here in Shanghai. Possibly the hardest degree I could ever do because it is insanely competitive to do this degree here in China. And boy, it has been a ride.
You know, it's not just me who thinks doing a degree in China is harder than anywhere else in the world. Do you find it harder to study a degree in your own country or in China?
I would say it's pretty much the same. Here there is a real focus on your research work, on the thesis, but for the courses it's basically the same.
China, of course. Colombia is more chill. China, because they put much more pressure on you.
Personally think that in Egypt I won't be facing any language barriers.
China, because you need to go through a tough process to get accepted.
In some sense, in Italy it's harder because they focus more on understanding concepts, and in China they focus more on memorizing the concepts.
As in course-wise, I think China is a bit more pressuring because in Korea you would have to take lower than 20 credits, but China, when I was taking bachelor's, I had to take 23 credits and up.
I prefer to get into a Chinese university because they have a national examination.
China, all the courses are hard. So yeah, overwhelmed.
So let's first go all the way back in time before I did my PhD, the interview process. Yeah, so generally with PhD interviews, you might just have a little interview with your professor to see if you're suitable. It's not too common, it can happen, but it's not too common to have an interview with the department. And in China, it is the most rigorous interview I've ever done. It is insanely difficult. I had maybe an hour interview, maybe it was 45 minutes, but with like maybe 6 or 7 different professors in mathematics, all in different fields, and they'd all be interviewing me. It was like an exam on different topics, like saying, hey, can you tell me this theorem, can you prove this for me? And oh my god, it was really hard. I couldn't answer all of them, but I did enough to pass and impress them. So yeah, the warning signs were already there before I even came. And in Europe, basically, when you do your PhD, your research begins on day 1. The topic is pretty much already chosen for you. The professor will give it to you. In China, I don't think I even started my research until maybe end of year 2, year 3. So what did I do in the meantime? So in China, the first year and a half is like a master's degree, so you have to pass many courses, and as a foreigner you have to pass some extra ones, like you have to do Chinese language. Everyone has to pass that. You also have to do a course on Chinese culture and Chinese history, but of course you need to pass many credits related to your course program. So for me, I had to do many in mathematics and statistics, and these courses were ridiculously intensive. Like, you had to do homework, assignments every single day. There was so much of it. The exam, there was so much to remember. It was pretty much theory. And then once you've done that, you have to do the dreaded qualifying exam. Yeah, did you hear that right? Qualifying exam. Yeah, you might not have heard of that before because it is not too common. I think it's only the US, maybe Sweden, I think, do it. But it's practically unknown in most of Europe to do the qualifying exam. The hardest exam I have ever had to do and ever will do, because it's basically a general exam on your course. So mine was mathematics and statistics. And you have no idea what's going to be on it. You have no past papers, no help at all. You have to study yourself. There's no classes for it. It's just a big general exam. They give you like 5 or 6 topics, I think it was, and you have to really study for about half a year on this, because you have no idea what they will ask you at all. So you have to be a master of your course. That's why you're doing a PhD, right? You need to be an expert in the topic. So I was revising for maybe 5 or 6 months, like non-stop every single day. It was crazy hard, and I just about passed. Many people did fail it, and then that's it. One chance, you're out of here. Got to quit the PhD. So wow, that was like a big relief that I passed that. So once you've passed the written exam, you can then do an oral test, which pretty much most people will pass anyway, because once you've done the written one, that's the hard one. The oral exam, that is not too bad. I'm just crossing the road here. Okay, don't want to get run over. But yeah, anyway, once you've done both of those, you can finally begin the research. Yeah, in your 3rd year, you can begin. This is when most people are finishing their PhD and their research in Europe. So I know as a master's student, most of the time you need to publish a paper, I think in a conference. whereas in Europe, America, you don't need to. In China, for a PhD, wow, it is really difficult. So you need to publish in 2 SCI journals. These are like the top tier ranking journals. You have to be like a certain level, and you have to be the first author, meaning you have to be the primary contributor, and you're not allowed to work with your classmates. It can only be you and your professor. I know in pretty much every other country in the world you can work with loads of people, and so you might not even have to do anything. Yeah, I know PhD students in other places where they don't do any work at all. They just work as a group, get their lab mates to do it all, and then hey, look, I've done the research, I've got my PhD. Here, no chance. And the crazy thing is, in Europe, you don't even need to publish a paper. You don't need to do any at all. You can literally just write the PhD thesis, which is crazy because publishing the paper means you're an expert in the field and you have done something which is new. You're contributing to that subject. But you know, you're not showing that at all, right? If you don't publish. So it's just really simple. If you want to have an easy PhD, go to the UK, go to Europe. Anyway, I have published one first author paper to a top journal, so that counts. So that means I just have one more left to do. So I'm about to submit that one, maybe in a couple weeks or something, and then hopefully I'll be able to graduate maybe in a couple months or so. And is it worth it? I think so. I'll tell you why. Because when you get a PhD, you can now get the green card. Yeah, so before you didn't get anything at all, but now you can get the hardest green card in the world, in China, so I can stay here without the stress of applying for visas. But that wasn't the primary factor. I really wanted to do a PhD. I always wanted to come to China, so I thought, I'll come here. And you know what? I didn't want to say it, but I was very, very close to dropping out around a year or so ago because the stress of a PhD is just ridiculous. Added to that, doing it in the hardest place in the world, I really regretted it, and I thought, oh my god, I was doing it for 4 years and I'm have to drop out now. Oh my god, but I stuck at it. I really do not recommend anybody do a PhD. If you are, pick somewhere easy to do it. Don't pick China. But nah, jokes aside, doing a degree which is really hard is well respected. So studying in China, I don't regret it at all. I really, really enjoyed it. And it has been tough because I haven't been able to go into the campus for half of the time because of the pandemic. Yeah, I've had to stay at home outside of the campus for most of it, and there's been hardly any foreigners at all up until last month. So there were like none, and now there's so many because the country has finally opened up. So yeah, it's a great time to come, and there's great experiences that you can have here. So hope you enjoyed it, and maybe I'll see you studying in China at some point. So take care, bye bye.